through just a little bit. Either way, it's going to be taken out here, and here's the first hover for SK Telecom. The Olaf would be a great first pick. We've seen it on both Blank and Bengi, not only at Worlds, but here in this tournament. Kind of an interesting way to play it, game one by Blank, who was kind of running circles around. Didn't really accomplish a whole lot in some situations, in others he definitely did. So that will be the lock-in first off the bat for SKT.
Yep, and now looks like a Jin and Karma hover for KEG Chungnam. And Jin, another AD carry, so we'll actually get to see Jihoon perform on 2 different ADCs this tournament at least. And I'm not always a big fan of the Karma pick, although we don't know where that's going. It might go into the support role, or it could be put into mid lane on for Fire Rain.
When it does come to Jin, it is Jihoon's, I think, 3rd most played champion, so certainly not way up on the list. But it's nice to see him on a little bit of a different flavor here as SK Telecom hovering over the Zac and Nami. It'd be interesting to see a Zac come out when there's already an Olaf on the field, but unless it gets changed in there, it does get changed over to Ashe to lock in what could be the SKT bottom lane.
Yeah, and in a weird way, Olaf could sometimes be flexed to top lane. I was actually going to mention that about Wute in game number 1, that he actually does like top Olaf when they were hovering it. But probably not going to be the case for SK Telecom. So just having that Ashe, so a soft counter to Jin, and Nami down there in the bottom lane.
Now, there is still that Rise ban out there, which means that we won't be seeing that from Fire Rain. So really the only other champion in his pool that he could go back to is the champion with a pool, and that's Vladimir. So it'll be interesting to see if he wants to return to that 1v1 matchup against Faker, because now that KEG are on the red side, they certainly do have that counter pick opportunity.
Yeah, and with the Kennen highlight, it almost looks like we're getting pretty much identical picks and bans to some degree, obviously with Jin being the only difference, but that does not make me feel very comfortable, especially when the top lane and mid lane pick for SK Telecom are still concealed.
Keeping an eye on that, and it's actually kind of interesting to see the jungle pick, or what I guess we're going to see as the jungle pick, saved for last on KEG Chungnam. They already know what they're going up against there in Blank's Olaf. So what are the last 2 picks coming in from SKT? Looks like might have some fun with the Aurelia, but it's going to take a lot for that to get all the way locked in. We'll see what the final 2 picks are. The Cassiopeia pick certainly looks like a solid one for Faker.
One of the things about Aurelia, what she can actually do against this KG Chungnam team composition, she can actually go Wit's End against Kennen in that matchup, and that's actually going to synergize with Faker, because any sort of MR steal that he's going to be able to put onto the opponents is going to directly enhance Faker's damage.
Now, we actually did see a Wit's End Echo earlier on in this tournament on our first day of our broadcast, so nice to see you know, some opportunity for that itemization maybe coming out again. It is an Echo finalizing that draft for SK Telecom, turning it back over to KEG, who look for what could be our first Nocturne, but most likely will be a more traditional jungle pick. Nocturne would be insane to see come out here, but maybe that's the pick that KEG need to turn this one around. In the end, I think Lee Sin probably the more traditional pick. Yep,
so it's going to be almost a completely identical team composition for KEG Chungnam, and doesn't really make any sense. I don't know if their ability to hold on as long as they did last game is convincing them that this team composition, except swapping out Ezreal for Jin, is somehow good. But honestly, the team comp is not good at all because of how it lets the opponent itemize, and I'm really not sure why they chose to go this way, but we're going to get into game number 2, and Faker's going to have a lot more control in the mid lane now early on because of Cassiopeia.
Will he be on that Season 2 Ocelot level of Cassiopeia? There's Tilted LS so hard. We're about to go into our second game in this series. SK Telecom, certainly with a lot of power picks under their belts, going up against a very similar KEG team composition. Maybe second time's the charm here for this amateur team as they go up against the Titans, the world champions, SK Telecom. So if you guys have preferences, have a vote that you want to cast. You guys are very well prepared to do that after these last few weeks, so get out there and let us know. Hashtag SKT win if you want to see the team of Prophet, Blank, Faker, Bang, and Wolf take a second game and secure their trip to the round of 8. This 2016 League of Legends KeSPA Cup, or if you are supporting the team from KEG Chungnam, hashtag KCM win. You want to let them know that you're watching. Wute is going to be leading them up in the top lane. Jeha, Fire Rain, Jihoon, and Chandong to round up the roster as we get into game number 2 of SKT versus KCM. And there we go, a big cheer for SKT. As we get into game number 2, SK Telecom on the blue side, Chungnam on the red, and not going to see any level 1 fireworks like we did in game number 1, so just a standard fan away. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. Wute.
Yeah, we might actually just... No,
I thought he was going to skill lightning rush there. What do you think the right play would have been in that situation? Would you like to commit to the ghost?
I don't know the exact range gap between them in terms of units, but I think that Blank activating Ghost and chasing him down with the undertow, I think would catch him even if he activates Lightning Rush. And even if he doesn't catch him, Kennen Lightning Rush level 1 is going to be problematic, but at best you get his flash for your Ghost. So, I'm not sure. But anyways, nonetheless, nothing happens, and that's completely fine too, and we're just going to have standard starts.
Standard starts. I was actually getting really excited for some more early aggression. It doesn't look like that's going to transpire as we get into game number 2 with some extra help there. Leashes on both sides. Fire Rain actually getting in there for a Soul Solitary Popcorn Chicken Steal.
Yep. And we can notice that Faker's actually running Deathfire instead of Storm Raider Surge. That's because of the solo kill potential in this lane matchup.
Also does keep burning Vladimir down even when he's in his pool, so another damage over time effect on that Cassiopeia that can still kill the Vladimir when he is invulnerable.
Yep, and Faker playing this laning phase very aggressively. Remember though, Fire Rain does get level 2 off just the first 6 minions because he stole that Wraith.
And there's Blank going to town on some Merc Wolves. Super excited to see that. Either way, we're already, wow, Prophet really skating the barrier of that turret range. Nice to see him knowing that down to a T, but he's going to take a less than favorable trade, I suppose, at that point, but still shoving the wave very hard into Wute. Now bottom lane, Wolf actually pretty low after that trade, but he will be able to sustain himself back up. And nice to see Jihoon and Chandong still very confident keeping that aggression in lane.
Yep. And Bang, you saw the question mark go out, but now a ping goes down. They know exactly where Jeha is.
Wolf Spirit from the smite on that Merc Wolves will actually scout Blank out as he is coming in here to try to get his hands on this Chungnam blue buff. Faker right there to accept it if he wants to give it to them. And with no contest, Jeha knows what's up and he's not going to fight it.
Okay, they do end up getting the final little mini golem there. I thought he was leaving it up for a second. So anyways, now Faker with a blue buff. This is actually going to be really problematic for Fire Rain to try to handle. He's already down 9 CS. They know exactly where Jeha is right now. And this is one of the problems that I was talking about with these lanes. Vladimir and Kennen, very difficult to coordinate ganks for.
Oh my goodness, Faker almost just taking down Fire Rain there, who does have the sustain, is doing a decent job of dodging the poison thrown at him. When that miasma is thrown down, there's not a whole lot you can do to get rid of that, and Fire Rain just can't even get even remotely close to Faker, forced to pull away and recall back to base.
Yeah, and he actually almost died just there pretty lucky that he did not. And
Power
he's
the
going to
Deathfire
recall.
touch. Recalling back to base as he will, with only 12 CS, half of what Faker's amassed in lane. Pretty incredible to see such a difference. Bubble landing onto Jihoon. Take a couple little pokes back his way. A lot of damage though in onto Wolf. There's another Deathfire touch, taking him down.
And right now, Blank sealing away the Gromp again. Although that's fine because Jeha is inside of his jungle, taking away some stuff. So Jeha not falling as far behind here in game number 2 as he did in game number 1, which is going to be pretty good for Chungnam. But their mid lane and bottom lane losing pretty hard though. And hold that thought.
Okay, well, Fire Rain might have actually just died if he hadn't saved its pool for that one moment. He goes back to base, gets back in the lane, and he's already forced to maybe recall. If he does complete that, that would be a lot of time spent out of lane, and still with only 12 CS.
Now Blank looking to steal the Wolves away from Jeha.
Yeah, back in his jungle. If he does actually get the smite here, actually, whoa, almost lost it if Jeha had gotten there a little bit faster for the smite steal. Either way, Wolves are now down, and that's the second time that Blank has invaded that lower Chungnam jungle and taken camps away from Jeha. Yep. Every single lane, really, for SK Telecom, just completely on top of it. No advantages here at all, as opposed to game number 1, where we actually saw quite a few. And now Wu-Tae, where are you going to go? Forced to flash, and no follow from Prophet will mean that Wu-Tae survives, but at what cost?
Yeah, him losing his flash there is actually pretty problematic. He's not going to have that for any sort of gank assistance now if Jeha tries to make his way up to top lane. And Prophet gonna get level 6, I think, off that cannon minion. And he does. So even if Jeha comes up here, I mean, Wu-Tae has already been chunked pretty heavy, and Prophet does have his ultimate up and flash.
There's a minion wave coming in as well for a little bit of extra damage, and Prophet wants to try to fight this 2v1, trying to get in behind Prophet. He's actually just going to take so much damage. Not a lot of mana or ways to escape. There's a big, after Wu-Tae hits 6, it's going to be the untimely demise of Prophet. Blank actually being forced to ghost away from that gank. As his top laner goes down for first blood on Chungnam.
Yep, and that was actually pretty unfortunate for SK Telecom. And Prophet tried to almost set up the same kind of an angle he did in game number 1, but he was not able to this time around. And Jeha getting that first blood was pretty needed by him. I believe that he still is actually down in levels, so anything for him will certainly help.
Nice attempt at stopping, but even nicer recall completed there, allowing the Jhin to make it back to base. Let's watch this gank one more time.
Yeah, so this gank where Jeha comes up, Wu-Tae a little bit slow to start, but it doesn't matter because the damage from Jeha was actually quite high. And Prophet, you saw he had a cute little flash attempt trying to bounce his Q off onto Wu-Tae again, but he just went down too quick.
Yep, and we return to the mid lane to see another lane that is still in a lot of struggle as Fire Rain just can't really accomplish a whole lot there. Faker pushed him out of lane twice early on, and that was more than enough, including that early blue buff after Blank stole it away, to really just put him a little bit too far behind. We'll see if Blank can steal yet another buff away, as this time it's Prophet coming on through. A nice kick backwards with a flash over the wall. That's going to be a red buff stolen away for SK Telecom.
That would have almost been super cute had Jeha also smited the red.
If he had gotten away with that steal and still survived, that's where you start to show off a little bit. It would have been a nice little morale boost. Instead, he's actually just losing both of his buffs on either side, and now might even be looking for Blank to invade again for his second blue buff steal.
Yeah, we're just seeing the gold difference between all of the players right now. Ash up actually 300 gold. Jhin ultimate coming out from Jihoon.
Gonna hit quite a few shots, and in fact, 3 out of 4, it's a pretty good ratio. And in the end, this blue buff actually will be secured. Now, neither mid nor jungler are actually mana-based champions, so it's not, the most impactful, but always nice to keep it off of Faker.
And Wu-Tae and Prophet having their little duel up here in the top lane. And while Kennen is ahead for right now, Prophet will eventually take over. and get into the driver's seat when he begins to get a few items on him, and that's when the lane really becomes problematic for Kennen. Prophet, though, with the red buff, any sort of hits he can inflict onto Kennen will certainly hurt.
And especially with the Z-Drive resonance, it's just so easy to get in there and get that little tag off. And okay, playing it pretty well. Not going to latch that on to Wolf. This dual lane is starting to get a little out of control. Bang with a huge CS lead. Jihoon pushed back to base early on. Very similar to the situation Byron found himself in. And Faker is looking for some chicken. Not unlike... who was it earlier? It was Blank that was actually trying to steal those away. Fire Rain stole a couple earlier on. We've got to keep track of the chicken and the devastation that has been done to it. After watching all of those chicken advertisements over the course of these breaks, nice to see players in-game have exactly the same focus.
A little unfortunate of Wolf to miss that bubble right there. That could have been really problematic. At the very least, we've gotten some summoner spells out. Oh, and Bang actually taking some damage from the turret.
Couple turret shots. Wolf's there to heal him up. He'll still take a little bit more than maybe he wanted to. Pink Ward in the tri-brush will actually scout Blank coming around with a teleport here as well. And an arrow that'll hit onto Jihoon. Blank's going in for the kill. A nice tidal wave right on top of both of them. A perfect parallel convergence. Means Prophet has more time than he knows what to do with. The boy who shattered it picks up 2 kills again. SK Telecom's trial top laner coming up big.
Yeah, and First Blood turret will go over to SK Telecom and also maybe even...
Okay,
Faker.
We all get one. That was a little bit aggressive. Maybe just using it to establish dominance, clearing out the minion wave a little faster. That's what we're going to go with as bottom lane. The push continues. SK Telecom looking to crush their second tier turret in the bottom half.
And tier 2 falling for Chungnam. A very big pickup for SK Telecom, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they actually all just fell back and killed the Cloud Drake, because there is 0 resistance coming. Could have easily just recalled one member to deal with the push up in top lane, but choosing not to, and Faker continuing to put pressure on Fire Rain in the mid lane as he's up over 40 CS at 11.5 minutes.
Okay, well, this is the way that the cookie and possibly the Fire Rain crumbles. Just such a difficult lane phase. After game 1, he actually looked pretty incredible. He was up 1-0 as far as his score was concerned for the majority, and now he's still having to make sure that he stays careful as Faker completely content to 1v2. Chandong around the corner, and Jayha does not want to fight that 1v2, 2v2 fighting right now, not on Chungnam's mind. And as the game moves forward, it looks like SK Telecom now rotating. Oh, Wolf, that's not the push you're looking for. Immediate flash forced out. Famous last words of many supports out there, I was just warding. That's almost what Wolf got caught doing. He's able to flash and stay alive, but still, I guess good positioning there for Chungnam as they force out that SKT support flash. Mid lane, though, Fire Rain's pushed back to base again. What is it about that lane phase that's being so difficult for him? Is it just hashtag things Faker does, or is it something that's unique to it? Although top lane might see a little bit more of an engage, but looks like they're backing off.
Yep, and it looks like Chungnam actually read that a little too well, and they're going to be rewarded for it, actually, because Blank was actually trying to set up a little bit of a bait for them to come in a little bit further. But about that matchup, KeSPA does have the ability to punish Vladimir. It shouldn't be to this extent, so that is just something Faker does.
Oh, and there's an arrow behind the turret. Oh, instead, Wute going big for it. He actually might be able to find a kill on Bang. Here comes the curtain call. These shots will not be enough. They're going to catch a couple in onto Wolf, but a nice attempt at turning that around there from Jihoon. Jayha, okay, you always got to be careful when Faker's there, and indeed he is going to go for it. There you are, you're grounded, man. Detention for you. Go to your room, go back to base for 25 seconds. A kill for Faker. After an overconfident Jayha finds himself going down under turret. Then Faker's not stopping yet. He's going to find a second kill even under exhaust. Can't stop, won't stop. Faker is here in a big way.
I have some game design issues right now. How does a KeSPA stun a Lee Sin?
When he can't see
yeah, he can't see.
Oh my goodness, that's even a bigger buff than if you're wearing a skin with sunglasses.
I don't know what to say about this, but anyways, let's watch this again. Jaha thought he was safe. Faker said, actually, you're not. And then because he's grounded, he could not really get away. And I think he really just wasn't expecting to die right here. And Changdong said, do you want to kill me too? And Faker said, surely I do.
Would you like one lump or two? And it's going to take two here. Even under that exhaust, so much damage. Faker, the snake charmer there, finding out how to get a 2 for none. Sounds like a good deal to me. And now SK Telecom on their first Dragon of the game. It's a Cloud Drake in the pit, nothing there to stop them.
Yeah. And Faker having a much better performance in this game than he did in game number 1, looking a lot more aggressive and comfortable. So it's really nice to see SK Telecom playing like this.
Indeed they are. Playing very, very well, completely up to par. What do you expect from a World Championship caliber team? Game 2 kind of gave me a few heart attacks there in our first series between Rising Stars and Samsung. But this one just looks so clean. I can imagine Coma took a trip into the base and let them know that you know, this is the KeSPA Cup that they're going to win. They have to add this, the final trophy, to the SK Telecom trophy booth. They've got quite a few of those. If you guys have ever seen pictures of the case that they keep all their trophies in, and looking to add one more. First step on a long KeSPA Cup journey comes from winning this series. And of course, a favored matchup, but one that still has to be won.
Yep, and Fire Rain trying to push back the lane a little bit here, and he's really hurting right now. He doesn't even have his first core item yet. We're at 16 minutes, and it's not even like he even has boots either. It's a very slow Vladimir.
Certainly is slow in just about every regard. The build order is a little bit difficult. He's been slow walking back to lane after having been forced to recall so many times. At that point, maybe boots is a good investment because you're going to be walking back the lane so much. But either way, bottom lane crushed early, and now it's Prophet just sat in there to continue to keep the push alive. Fire Rain in a similar situation, having the lane shoved into him there. Now what's the next move here for SKT? Looks like it's headed top lane.
Yeah, and Jihoon and Chandong not in a good spot right now.
Nope, that will be a nice flash from Jihoon underneath the turret. Nice dodge away from the arrow, but Blank's just not stopping. He's got that ghost. He's going to go in for 2 kills for SK Telecom. Now, Wu-Tae's in behind. He's actually going to clear the wave off at the turret, but SKT don't afraid of anything. Not one tiny little cannon turret will dissuade them from going in for the dive. The turret falls, and so will the Chungnam top laner.
And SK Telecom almost at that 10,000 gold lead at just around the same time as last game.
This is how I like to rate if I'm doing well in my games. You know, if I have a 10K gold lead at 17, you know, things are working pretty well. It's not necessarily directly comparable. Feels like SK Telecom just know exactly what to do when, and even behind the turret, they're still pushing in for a pretty crazy amount of advantages. Byrain wants to get in here, but he's going to go down before he can even get in there for the Hemoplague heal. And with shots being fired by Jihoon from afar, those are not the ones he's looking for, and doesn't in fact hit any of them. SK Telecom completely dominant. Find a kill, find a second tier turret, back off all alive.
They have so much gold on all of their champions right now. So we can just take a look at how this started. So Blank and Wolf coming up here, and Jihoon flashed the tidal wave, but you can't really flash an Olaf, but not gonna matter. Blank says, I'll get to you in a second. And Jihoon just doesn't have anything he can do, and Faker arrives, and then Wu-Tae was caught between a rock and a hard place underneath the top tier 1 turret.
That is 50 Shades of Blank. Pretty dark underneath that turret. If there were Dr. Mundo, it'd be appropriate for him to use his skill masochism right about now, because this is a little rough to watch over and over again. Blank just continuing to go where he pleases, much like the Mundo I was referencing earlier. This time around, it's not just Blank going off. Game 1, it was all the Prophet show as he just completely hard carry. This time, Faker stepped up and wants a little bit of his share of the action. Yeah,
and Faker decided, okay, never mind. Prophet's coming over. So they will pick up the Rift Herald. That's probably going to be about a 1910 or so, or no, or maybe a little bit longer. But it's going to be a Rift Herald on a 19-minute Echo, 19-minute, 10 seconds on a Echo. So that's basically going to exist for the entire game if it does end up going that long.
That would have been a lucky axe steal. Inevitably, it is not. And blue buff. I believe Jayha did actually smite that away, so it's not going to go over to Fire Rain, which might have been nice for him to have, even though he's not a mana champion. Either way, SK Telecom unsuccessful at the blue buff steal, but successful at just about everything else. Turn their attention to the bottom lane. Wute knows he's got to get out of dodge.
Yep. And Wute just backing off now. And so here comes the point of the game where SK Telecom basically floundered last game, and they didn't do anything for a great while. So hopefully Faker on this Cassiopeia going to change that up.
Oh, and nowhere to go there for Shandong. Fire Rain, nowhere to go for him either. Can't even get into pool. And no transfusions for him. He is out of there. Now even Jayha trying to go in onto Wolf, who will chase him back away to one feisty support, man. And SK Telecom find 2 kills, crack the second tier turret in the mid lane for all outer turrets down, and now turn their sights on a 20-minute Baron.
Yep. Okay, Prophet.
Prophet's feeling a little hypey there behind everything. Now, SK Telecom complete to commit there into the Baron pit. Wute's got some other ideas, forces them back away, but with no Zonya's Hourglass, he's just going to die. SKT disengaged from the Baron that was almost dead.
That was 2,500 HP left. I'm not quite sure why they backed up off of that.
Pretty low health bars. Things might have gone bad. Over and over again, you can see SKT just making sure that they stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Prophet basically 1 versus 3 here. Wute actually with a really nice engage inside of that Baron pit. And he does end up basically stalling and delaying the Baron for quite a long time, and he did do a lot of damage to SK Telecom, and it just looks like they didn't want to play it too risky and maybe fail the smite fight to Jayha, because that could get pretty bad. But anyways, 11,000 gold lead for SK Telecom right now. 2 Cloud Drakes, their eyes are still set on Baron. And Seraph's Embrace, by the way, completed for Faker.
He does have that and another needlessly large rod for whatever he wants to turn that into. It's a Rylai's, which is also complete. The 503 Snake in the grass, the lane, the river, wherever he wants to go. 200 CS and a 503 score will get you there. 21, now just 22 minutes, and swing and a miss there on the arrow. Blank's still going for it. This is an Olaf that doesn't take no for an answer. Jihoon, he's not going to last very much longer. Okay, Wall's the only obstacle standing in Blank's way at this point. And he's going to back off with only a solo kill. Jayha fancies a go. And even in a 1v3, Blank is just not deterred. He knows he's got Faker coming in from behind. An incredibly strong Snake at this point. He's not going to stop there. Fire Rain forced to pull away as SK Telecom cracked the top.
Yeah, and looks like with that turret going down, so shall the inhibitor. And Faker in mid lane, they're just going to rotate down there, pick that up as well. 12,000 gold lead at 22 minutes.
And just going from one objective to the next, nothing stopping SK Telecom, except for Kennen ult the Baron pit. That did deter them there, but nothing's going to stop them in the base from taking not 1, but 2 inhibitors, and Prophet's going back in. SKT smell blood in the water, and they are going to go in for what could be the final fight of this game. So here's Wute trying to turn it back around, but again, will go down as SK Telecom, they'll lose their jungle, they lose their top lane, but Faker, Bang, and Wolf, they've got other ideas. Fire Rain will get bubbled up, taken down, and that's a double for Bang.
Yeah, and so 2 inhibitors down and 2 base turrets have fallen now for Chungnam, and I mean, it's almost all but over. So we can watch this replay. Prophet doing a lot of damage to Wute to start this up, and Blank running away a little bit, and then Prophet pulls the trigger and came back in, and looks like Chungnam wasn't expecting that. Now, fortunately for them, though, they did manage to clean up this fight and survive and not lose the game right here, but Faker on the backline, you can just see the damage he was dishing out. And they can't push this fight too much further, but with Fire Rain going down, SK Telecom back out of the base and look to win the game just a few moments later.
Some people, Nick, will tell you that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I like to just say it's Faker's damage, because you can see that. I mean, we can say the same thing about Blank, is just continuing to go in over and over again and find kills every time. Now Prophet, not a lot to stop him. He's in a 1v3, and he knows he's got the backup to keep going. There's a nice kick there on to Bang in the back line, but no damage to follow it up. Chungnam are pushed back to their Nexus. Here comes what could be the curtain call for Chungnam. It's closing, and can they find a way to keep it open for a little bit longer? Both Nexus turrets about to fall, and indeed they will. Faker with a stun from an ultimate that will lead to another kill, that time on to Wute. And the Nexus dropping lower and lower. SK Telecom book their passage to the round of 8 to face off against MVP with a 2-0 victory over KEG Chungnam here tonight.
Yeah, and you know, SK Telecom fielding their substitute top laner tonight, and I thought that he looked actually pretty fantastic in both games.
Especially game number 1, that Jace performance. I haven't seen a Jace carry that hard in a good long while. Nice to know that he's got it. Good job, Prophet. Nice debut for him on the best team in the world.
Yeah, and there is Chungnam not looking super happy.